Blackman Parish Council, February the 9th, 2023 meetings is now called to order at 5:16 p.m. Roll call. Let the record reflect that all 9 council members are present. We'll move to the next item, please.
Item 2, executive session, there are none. Item 3, proclamations, there are none. Item 4, status report by the parish president.
Mr. President.
Your mic's not on.
We're good? Yeah, all right. As always, we're cutting grass in February, and we're cutting a lot of grass, okay? It's my understanding, Mr. Wishers, we cut the grass all the way to the beginning of the parish. So
Without contracting it out.
without contracting it out, correct. Yeah. So that's been done. The levees, we're riding the levees also. We're taking care of some deficiencies on the levees. We do have quite a few deficiencies, but we'll be coming back to you in the near future. We're going to need some limestone and some dirt, but those are things that we can discuss. You know, go ahead.
On the dirt, Venture Global had dirt they wanting to give to us.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's that big pile they got right below the plant now.
Okay.
And we had talked to them about putting it, I don't know the name of that road. Ravina Road, West.
In the road? Okay. Well, what we can do is we can reach out to them. Probably don't need, from what I'm understanding, it's quite a bit of dirt that they're looking to get rid of.
We had a pit back there.
yeah.
We told them they could
Yeah.
fill it. But
So, yeah, we'll reach out to them and we'll see what we can do, and that'll take care of that. So with that, we have been moving forward on the emergency prep, you know, for hurricane season. Ms. Stanifer, she is securing bids and quotes and numbers for sandbagging, servicing of the generators, servicing of the fuel trucks. Ken and Jonah, we're talking about the RFPs. We're securing the pre-positioning contracts as well, as far as getting the housing of the employees. Also working on should the residents need to be. We have the contract up in Monroe with that right there. So the logistics of the mills for all of us that are here staying behind, and as we work through these disasters, God forbid that we have one. The next meeting that we're getting together as a parish on the hurricane prep is March the 20th. We had a meeting with GOSEP, and that was just them educating myself, my staff, and us in general as the procedures on, you know, when a storm event or a hurricane event does happen, or any kind of emergency happens. So we did that. As we finished up the meeting, I've been talking with Guy Ligas with the sheriff's office. You know, he's always looking and hustling monies for different buildings. So we've identified 2 buildings out here in the facility to where we're going to, GOSEP has there's some possibilities of getting some monies that we can harden these buildings. What we mean is just put in the windows, secure the roofing on it. Then we would have to get together and take care of the insides of it. But with the sheriff's office, they've got some resources. We might have to just work with them financially there. But so these 2 buildings, one would be housing where there would be showers, some sleeping spaces. And then one of the buildings would be for food and have a kitchen and an area to be able to eat. It's my understanding in the past that we would be out underneath tents, out in the elements and everything like that. So what this does is this gives us some secure places right here. And also, but as us as employees, we feel confident that if we have to, say, use this as a safe house during a storm event, we can. These buildings are pretty solid right here.
We'll GOSEP, because like the evacuees, they've been using the pavilion. Would they pay for showers and all back there for the people?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Habo.
Permanent shower.
Personally, you couldn't force me to stay in that building during a hurricane, okay? That's a metal building. That's not meant, so that, I would only think that we could use that building as a shelter of after the fact. Like what we had a couple of weeks ago, say if a tornado would have hit us, we could open that up. But that is a good question there, and that we can,
FEMA reimbursed us for the showers and the toilets we had prior.
okay. So what Rennie's telling me is that the showers and the toilets that we had here, FEMA did reimburse us for those right there, so.
I'd like to see about building a permanent one,
You know what? We're asking for a whole lot all over the place. Shanta, let's put that on the list right there, okay?
Using it for basketball and volleyball, you can
Right.
have a place to take a shower too.
Right, right. So that's good suggestion there. Road by the Grand Bayou Community Center, I'm a little disturbed as some of the chain of the events that have happened with there. There's a contractor that bid on the project. I think it was tune of just maybe $69,000. I drive up. I wasn't able to do an inside inspection, but just walking up to it, I hope that they haven't started anything on the inside, because when you drive up, the roof is blown up and everything like that. And then I get back to the office this afternoon, and I see there's 2 change orders that they're already asking for. So now the $69,000, I believe it's doubling it. So I've got a phone call into the contractor before they move forward. I want to sit down and talk with them and see what's going on. And here we are. We're not even 5% into the project, and they're already giving us change orders. And it's one of those things where a lot of contractors could possibly bid on something knowing that they can't do it, and they want to work on change orders, and I'm not too keen on that right there. I can talk about the Buras, the sewer problem. Talked to Mr. Dugan this morning. There's a blockage in the clarifier, and what he's telling me is that this sewer needs to be dry for them to clear out, and then all of a sudden, here we have rain last night, so that could prolong that process right there. But there's a company called Tomahawk. They're in the process of clearing this out right now. That was the report that I got today.
Thank you.
Okay, and then Councilman LaFrance, if the Felix and Edna Till, that property right there, we're going to be going to the Police Jury Association, and there's a lady by the name of Miss Wesley Johnson. We're going to be meeting with her, and she works with adjudicated properties. We have a stack of adjudicated properties in Plaquemines Parish. I don't know how many it is. It's well over, it's several hundred of them. So what she does is she works with you. You go in, you pay her a fee. She will do the research, the title research for you, so that you know what percentage that you own on this property. But it does have to go out for bid, though.
Correct.
At the end of the day.
Sometimes they're redeemed by the tax.
Okay. So, but there's an outlet that we have found so that we can move forward on properties of this manner right here.
Great.
So,
Will she also do like the road home properties and all, if somebody wanted to buy them?
go ahead.
There are some additional services that she recently did in some other parishes that she does want to talk about to us. We haven't discussed that in depth. I think our primary thing is to get the adjudicated stuff off the ground and then discuss other services that she may offer in more detail. So she did mention road home, and we'll look forward to talking to her more about that.
I'm going to leave my report to this end right here. There's some other items that are on your question list, and Mr. Wishers and Mr. DeMarco have some answers on some of the other questions that y'all have brought to the table here this afternoon, too. So I don't know if I guess we had talked about maybe going over that on the, under the charter, under the director's report. So I'm finished.
Ms. McCarthy?
Mr. President, I have a question Going back to the hurricane prep that you mentioned, the Poopage building is used for emergency operators. Do you know if the generator there works for in case we have a hurricane?
It should be working right now, yes.
Working, that's great.
Yeah.
And GOSEP, would they provide showers or something for the people who stay there?
Again, like Mr. Burris said, that's a FEMA-related project right there. Those are the asks that when the storm hits, those are some of the pre-position type situations that, yeah.
Yes, sir. We've done pre-position contracts for that, so that FEMA will reimburse us to the extent we need those services. Sometimes in a storm, they're difficult to acquire. Part of what GOSEP talked to us about in the meeting was that they were deploying regional resources to the region, so that, because I said these showers are very expensive, it would make sense for the state to have some portable ones, because, I mean, we spent $250,000. Obviously, the tab goes, 90% of it goes to FEMA for Ida's case, but, so they're certainly looking into that, but that's all done through FEMA. GOSEP does not send those services generally down in advance.
Thank you.
Mr. Champagne?
Yeah, Mr. President, I'd just like to offer my thanks for you and your staff making yourselves available to myself and the other council members. I think it's keeping us focused and helping us work together and move the parish forward using your cliche, but I thank you for that.
Well, good. Well, thank you. Let me just touch on this right here. I spent the day in the southern end at the beginning of the parish. Rode down, started at Targa. Well, really started at the sign. I started to take a picture just to say, hey, look at me here. But anyway, but it was a good day. It really was. Spent some time in the Port Sulphur government building. Miss Pamela there was very ecstatic, you know, to see us walk in. Jeff and I absolutely walked through every room that we had a key to and every floor on that. She's excited. We've identified 4 offices in there. Not only am I going to establish an office in the Port Sulphur building, but we're going to do one for Jeff, the public service director, the operations director, and Ms. Taylor. Now, she's expressed some interest in the prom building because she's saying there's some nice offices in that building. So we'll have a presence down there. And look, we are going to let the community know that we're there, and we really invite, we want to see some movement with these actions right here. So, and the folks that I talked to as I would stop in, you know, in Gilbo's and some of the restaurants, and they were ecstatic that we were down there, and we told them that what we were doing as far as looking into the Port Sulphur building, that was promising to them too. So they showed their gratitude and their appreciation for that as well there. So, I want to thank you for your time, Mr. Champagne, Mr. Schultz, and Ms. McCarty. We have an ongoing appointment on a weekly basis. I'd like to be able to set something up with Mr. LaFrance, Mitch, and Habo on a Wednesday. Know that I'm going to be in your community on a Wednesday, so I'd like to be able to spend time with you at that time. Reverend Edwards, I'm blocking out time on Fridays for the East Bank, but look, even though I'm blocking this time out on those specific days doesn't mean that I can't get down there on another day. But the calendars, I'm sure like you guys' calendars, it's quite full. So, but right now, those days are open, and I'm here for you. And thank y'all.
Mr. Champagne?
I've already spoken.
Mr. Edwards?
You know, Mr. Hinkler, I really want to thank you for, 1,000% support you have given me as a councilman. You have been over there. The director of operation, I'm thinking about naming the street for him on the east bank of the river, because the work that was done in 2 months, people see stuff that been elected for 3 years in less than 2 months. These start to be seen as some changes on that back highway, Highway 39. The only issue that we got is that Reverend Griffith Community Center. I had Raymond from the Board of Health to come by there. We met with the director of the Council of Aging, came by there. The senior citizens don't want to leave out there, but they shouldn't be in that building because it's leaking. We got a garbage can inside of the men's bathroom where the water coming out the roof. A lot of towels got puffed in it. You know, asbestos is one of the kind of thing you inhale slowly, you know, and so, I mean, that building in a horrible condition. I mean, real horrible condition. And I'm hoping that we're trying to find another location for the senior to get out that building until whenever get repaired. But it's some serious, serious problem there.
Well, through our travels yesterday, we were on the phone as well with different contractors talking about the Dave Ant, the community center. So Mr. DeMarco is lining those up as we're speaking here, and we were speaking yesterday, so that we can get the roof repaired first and then start working on the interiors. Also, we toured both of the Ys, the one in Buras and the one in Port Sulphur yesterday as well, took a look at the swimming pools. So I'm going to be meeting with pool contractors with Mr. DeMarco with that as well. Unfortunately, the Buras pool is in such bad shape that it may be tough to be able to get it up and running for this summer. But we need to move forward with getting it repaired and getting it taken care of. The Port Sulphur pool, we can rope off an area that they'll be able to use that pool this summer. But at the same time, we've got to. They need some major repairs. They're in bad shape. I mean, so, but we're going to take care of it.
Well, the other thing I wanted to ask you, is it possible, I know after COVID, a lot of buildings, when it's closed, there are these companies coming in with spray a building. I'm just wondering, can somebody come in there? Because the senior citizens don't want to leave, they're connected to that place, they don't want to go. Can somebody come in there and do some kind of spraying or something in there? Because all that stuff in the ceiling and, you know, at least if you come through there and fumigate the place or something, I think that would help.
We'll look into that, but until we stop the source and the problem, it's just going to continue. But we'll talk to them. Let's talk to one of those one of those companies there, and we'll see what they say. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Jurich?
Yes, Mr. President, I do want to appreciate a lot you coming down, and you're going to set up office in these certain places. The people in the community are already hearing about it, and they're very excited, and that's a great move on all of y'all part with the directors and everything else. I really appreciate that.
Okay, good deal.
Just want to ditto what he said, and thanks to the directors. I want to let you know that when I do call one of the directors, they answer the call and they get up on the problem as quickly as possible. So kudos goes out to you and your directors. Thank you. Any other comments from the table? Comments from the audience? Oh, Mr. Habo? Mr. Konovich?
I could tell you the Buras pool, we spent $90,000 on it and they never finished it. And the splash pad needs to be looked at too.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if we could go back on that company that did the work on the pool.
Well, you know what? That will happen tomorrow. We will make those phone calls right there, so.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Comments from the audience? We'll move to the next item, please.
Agenda item 4A, update by charter directors.
I think we just did that.
5,
To the next item.
bids and advertisements. There are none. Beer and liquor licenses.
Key in if you have any. There are none.
7, building permits. 7A, construction permits, 7A1. Houston Energy Operating LP, application number 2023-592, dated June 7th, 2022, install pile clusters, drill the SL-195QQ well number 1, and install wellhead protector and 2 4-inch flow lines, quarantine bay. Councilmember Edwards.
We'll take item 2 in global also.
Crescent Midstream LLC, application number 2022-1107, dated December 13th, 2022. Anomaly repairs along the exiting 12-inch Empire East to Empire West pipeline, Empire. Councilmember Jurisic.
We have a motion by Reverend Evans, seconded by Mr. Jurich. Any comments from the table? Administration? Audience? Machines are open. and the measure passes 8-4, 1 abstention. Item B is deferred. We'll take item,
Can I ask a question about C first? Mr. Hinklehead, did you get the phone?
I didn't, but Shanta did. His questions, we need to talk to Mr. Press a little bit more in detail. Maybe we can get together with him. It's my understanding that he may also have some modular homes on his property, and he's questioning the fees, the $10 to the $100 fees there. So if you could, or I can get Sean to try to get a meeting set up where the three of us can get together
All right.
and discuss that right there.
Thank you. Defer.
item C is deferred. We'll take item D, please.
Cruisers RV Park, Rodney Heights, 2023 RV Park renewal for 92 spaces, Logan Lane, Belchase, Louisiana. Councilmember LaFrance.
So offered.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any comments from the table? Audience, administration, machines are open.
Councilmember Edwards? Thank you.
And the measure passes 9-0. We deferred item E. We'll go to item 8.
Introduction of ordinances and resolutions.
We have several. The first two are for Councilmember Champagne. The first one is a resolution authorizing the parish president or his designee to do all things necessary and proper to negotiate, execute, perfect, and enforce a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Plaquemine Social Aid and Pleasure Club, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing the parish president or his designee to do all things necessary and proper to negotiate, execute, perfect, and enforce a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Plaquemines Parish Heritage and Seafood Festival, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The next one is for Councilmember Gui. An ordinance to amend and as amended to readopt the Plaquemines Parish Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Section 2-17, Rules for Transaction of Business Before the Council, Rules 18A and B, Rule 19.1A9, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The following three are for Councilmember Kognovich. A resolution authorizing the parish president or his designee to do all things necessary and proper to negotiate, execute, perfect, and enforce a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Croatian American Society and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution to appoint a replacement member and 2 new members to the Plaquemines Parish Tourist Commission Board and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And finally, a resolution authorizing the execution with a cooperative endeavor agreement by and between Plaquemines Parish Government and the Plaquemines Parish Tourism Commission related to the maintenance, repair, and operation of Fort Jackson and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And that is it.
Thank you. We'll move to the next item, please.
Agenda item 9, ordinances and resolutions on second reading and final passage. 9A, ordinances and public hearings pursuant to Article 6, Section 601E of the Plaquemines Parish Charter. There are none. 9B, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, new construction Wood Lawn Fire Station project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Edwards.
We have a motion by Mr. Edwards.
Deferred.
Deferred.
Nine C, an ordinance prohibiting the sale of imported shrimp and
We'll
the.
defer that.
9D, a resolution approving the holding of an election in Plaquemines Parish Hospital Service District Number 1, State of Louisiana, on Saturday, April 29, 2023, to authorize the levy of a special tax therein and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
I'll offer for discussion,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Konovich. Is there anyone in the audience to represent this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason Akers with Foley and Udell. It's a pleasure to see all of you again, new members as well. The resolution before you actually authorizes the
Tell us who
holding.
you are,
I'm sorry?
who are you and who you represent?
Jason Akers with Foley and Udell. We're bond counsel to the parish and the hospital service district. Yes, sir. Thank you. The resolution before you authorizes the holding of an election for hospital service district number 1 to authorize an in lieu millage. So this is a millage that's been levied in the parish for a number of years, for decades. In fact, it started back when the hospital was under the control of the parish council. And at that time, the parish council called the election to authorize the levy of a millage to benefit the hospital. Since that time, we've created Hospital Service District Number 1. They operate Plaquemines Parish Hospital, Plaquemines Parish Medical Center, and they have the authority under state law to actually call the election and hold the election on their own. So the Hospital Service District is requesting your authorization to hold that election in their own name. You would then discontinue the levy of the tax that you currently are levying as the parish council for the benefit of the hospital, and it would go solely on the books of the hospital service district. From a taxpayer's perspective, there's no difference. There's a 2.89 mil tax that's currently being levied in the name of the parish. That will become a 2.89 mil tax that's being levied in the name of the hospital service district. And it puts the onus solely on the hospital service district moving forward to provide for renewals, to provide for the collection, to provide for the appropriation and expenditure of those proceeds. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I know there are representatives from the hospital service district here as well, and they can answer any questions you have also. Thank you.
Mr. Champagne?
Yeah, I'd like to ask, what was the advantage of moving it from the council to the hospital? Why?
Well, as of right now, the money is coming in through the parish and then being transferred out to the hospital service district. This would have the money going straight to the hospital service district once it's collected by the sheriff. And so there's, this provides, as of right now, the parish has really no oversight over the expenditure of those funds. This is a tax that's going to have to be renewed soon anyway because it expires in 2024. The hospital service district would like to go ahead and get it out into the public for renewal at this point. So that's another advantage as well.
Are you?
Mr. Newsom?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, a couple questions. Anytime we talk about millages and stuff, that's sensitive issues for the residents, you know. This governing body went out with millages and failed. Let's just leave it at that. I can't understand why, and Mr. Champagne asked the question, I guess I'll ask again because I didn't get the answer. Why do we put, this current millage that's on the table is not intended, or not intended, it doesn't expire till May of 2024, is that correct?
Well, it expires in tax year 2024, yes.
Okay, so we're doing it, we're calling for an election on an off time, that nothing else is going on. Why is that?
I'm sorry, this is a statewide, an authorized statewide election?
In the Plaquemines Parish, we have nothing going on that time.
I believe that's correct.
No, it is correct. You don't have to believe it, I tell you. So, why can't we do this when we have an election with the sheriff's race, with the clerk of court, with the assessor? Why is it not being done then? Can you give me an answer for that?
I can't answer that question for you. I can tell you that this is an authorized election date. This was the request of the hospital service district to move forward at that time. And as they began the process, it's unknown to them what other elections may be called at this time. There may be other elections within the parish that aren't necessarily candidate elections that may be called at the same time. But as they begin the process, they don't know whether that's the case or not.
Yeah, okay.
And I will note as well that this election cost is an expenditure of the hospital service district, not the parish. So just want to make clear on that.
I believe well, I won't get into the text, but I think the state would pay for this because it is on election day, the cycle that the state has put forward for this election. So you are correct. It does come at no cost to this body here.
That's correct.
But
the remainder of the cost is the hospital service district. So
what do those cost? Since you brought that up, what a cost do they incur on this by doing this at this time?
let me see if we have the estimate so far. And I apologize for not knowing that
No, it's a,
Let me see. It's estimated by the Secretary of State to be $25,000.
geez.
And as note that this tax itself will produce $2.5 million each year.
How many, look, I'm going to speak on this. I support the Plaquemines Parish Medical Center. It's a needed, dire needed facility in the southern end of the parish. It's definitely needed. How many, for my, this is how many millages does the hospital currently collect other than this one?
There's one other millage collected by the hospital service.
And what is that rate at? Do you know?
I'm gonna yield to, I believe it's around 3 mills. I'm gonna say around 3. I don't know the exact number.
So this one's 2.89. Would you say it'd be more? Would it be less? Would it be?
I believe it's 3.1.
Oh, it's more, okay.
Yes, council member, but I don't know the
That's
exact
fine,
number.
that's a good enough answer. That's all I have for right now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Konovich.
Right now, for the renewal and all, the way it's written, they got to come to us to renew it.
They,
Okay, if we change it, can they do it by themselves? They wouldn't have to come to us, or can they do a millage on their own?
they're always going to have to come to you for approval under Article 6, Section 15 of the Louisiana Constitution. They will always have to come to you for approval of holding that election. They would, however, be able to call that election on their own, and they would bear the burden of the cost of that election on their own, just as they do with their other millage. They call the election, you approve the holding of the election, and then they put it on the ballot. They go through the State Bond Commission process. That's what this resolution is designed to do going forward, is that this would be in their name. Same process. They'll call the election, they'll come to you for approval. Once you approve it, it would go through the State Bond Commission and Secretary of State's offices before going on the ballot. But this doesn't remove the parish council completely from its approval perspective, but it removes you from the nuts and bolts and also the cost of it.
I appreciate everything the medical center does. I think it's a great deal. A lot of people say, oh, that's for down the road, but from the way I look at it, more people from Belchase go down there because there's not a long line to wait. And thank you.
Reverend Edwards?
Yeah, I served on the medical board, and I have great love for it. One of the concerns I have, not just the medical board, and Mr. Hinkle is something I really want to bring to your attention. I'm wondering, have we really looked at the millage and how it's used over the years? I'm going to just use the hospital. Let's just say the hospital right now, let's say they got $100 million in the bank. I'm not saying they do. And we give a millage, but then you got other areas of the parish who need money. I wonder at what point do we look at when it's time to lessen some organization, whether sheriff, should he get the same amount of millage for the next 20 years if he's somewhat solvent? So I'm just saying, I just think we need to really look at that. I don't know the answer for that, and I don't know what the situation, but I'm not in favor of the medical hospital, any other group, not being under control, millage being under control of the parish government. I'm totally against that, so let me make that clear.
Okay. We have some millages that are going to be coming up for renewal on the parish side here, sometimes next 2 years from now, but we're going to be coming to the council probably next year to be able to call for that election the following year. And I think it's like 4 different millages. I just started in communications with one of the agencies here last week sometime, but that would be the appropriate time that we can take a look at those millages and make a determination if we need to up or do something. But keep in mind, these millages are renewals.
I understand that.
And so the thing is, I'm of this opinion, if we start upping those numbers, now we're asking for more money. And I think where we stand I think when we all ran here, we were like, didn't really want to go in that direction right there. So, but we can always explore it. We can see where we are. Like I said, it's going to be toward the end of this year, next year, but in 2 years, we're going to have another election on, like I said, 4 different millages. And I'll get you the information on those millages
I'm trying to
there.
get, is to get understanding, because even though we renew everything every year, who said we should continue renewing at the amount we're renewing, when there might be some other, well, the parish government might need to get more millage than some of these other people because of the amount of service we got to deal with, like the ambulance, the EMT, and all others, garbage and all of. So I'm just looking at if there been a study in the last 20 years in terms of who get millage and how long they've been getting it, and as a result of that millage, are they somewhat in a good position where we don't continue to have to renew at the amount that they're asking?
Well, like I said, we're going to have that opportunity here in about 1.5 years, 2 years, so we can explore it at that time.
Do we have anyone from the hospital board? Could you please come forward? And state your name and address.
Dale Adams, 106 Gamma Street, Belchase.
Do y'all have the capacity to absorb our ambulance and EMS services?
Not with my opinion, no, sir.
Okay. Mr. Schultz?
I was going to tell you, we collect less money through the 2 taxes than what we spend in a given year. So, you know, I don't understand where the idea even comes from that we would be able to absorb another, and I'm not real sure on how much the ambulance costs, but I would guesstimate, since I've been with the medical center now for 18 years, it has to be well up in the millions, you know, several $millions. We could not absorb that without federal grants and stuff like that, but the parish can do that too, so.
This millage, it's about $2 million, is the cost of the ambulance service. This millage right here that we're talking about renewing is probably a little over $2.5 million. So basically, if we were to take and put the ambulance service under the hospital, this would wipe that out right there. Now they would have to go figure where we're going to get $2 more million to run the hospital.
It's not written in this millage that
No,
they could pay for.
you're right,
ambulance
right.
yet.
This is specifics right here. So again, if we were to do something like that, now we're asking for something new. Now we're not renewing, it's a new millage.
And this was approved, and the EMS millage was not approved by the voters.
Yeah, about 2 years ago, there was a millage on the ballot for EMS, and it failed. So if we would start mixing and combining things like that, again, I'm of the opinion, this is me personally, we're asking for something new. This is an existing millage. This keeps the hospital going, which does offer the service for the entire parish. And you're right, there are a lot of people that in the Belchase area, they do take advantage of that hospital because you have one red light, you know, depending on where you live in Belchase, you know, right there at Russell Avenue, and then you're there. You're there within 25 minutes.
20% of our urgent care is Belchase people, so 20%. And so that ought to give you, Beerus is 36%. So that ought to give you an idea of how many people from Belchase use it, and it's well worth it within our concept of expanding medical service throughout the parish. We purchased a medical unit to go to the East Bank, and we go there quite often and everything. We would love to have a presence on the East Bank. We don't believe that we're just a facility in Port Sulphur. We're there for the entire parish. And if you were here in Plaquemines Parish during the pandemic, you noticed that we were everywhere in this parish. We were on the East Bank, we were on the West Bank, we were on the North, we were on the South. We're everywhere in this parish, and we're there to help the entire parish bring medical service across the board. By the way, we saw more people during the pandemic, and we were ready for it. If y'all can relate back, When Orleans Parish and Jefferson Parish were having some of the highest percentages of COVID in the entire nation, Plaquemines Parish was one of the lowest in the entire state, to the point that the state came in and wanted to know how in the world we were pulling that off. Well, the fact of it is that we were ready for it before it ever happened, and we're going to be ready for whatever comes down the line in the future. But we only can do that by being proactive. And the board that I have right now is a great board. When Tyrone was on the board with us, we set down certain guidelines and certain things that we were going to follow. It was part of the foundation that we laid. We built a beautiful building, and it's just been going on from there. And it's y'all, it's something to be proud of. I got to be honest with y'all. And several of y'all I see on the council, y'all had an active part in where we're at right now. This is a success story. And I got to be honest with you, I don't want to do anything that's going to hinder it or hurt it in any shape, form, or fashion.
I want to thank you for your service, but I thought we didn't catch coronavirus because of the raw oysters we was eating.
That's true.
100%.
You say that, but that is part of it. We are hardy people down here.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes, somebody asked what the other mill was. I looked it up while we're sitting here. 3.29 mills in 2021 is the other one. So my two questions are directed to Mr. Akers. Is it normal? So this expires at the end of 2024, you said?
Yes.
So is it normal to, what are we, February 23? Is it normal to do this far in advance? Since it's kind of a renewal, but in lieu of, but it's basically a renewal?
I can tell you that our office handles approximately 120 elections statewide every year, and a number of those are renewal elections. Typical timeframe for calling a renewal election is in about 2 years before.
Okay.
That gives you an opportunity to avoid losing revenue if, heaven forbid, something were to happen and the vote go against the renewal.
Okay. So you say vote go, let's say this does not pass. What happens then?
So constitutionally, they would be restricted from calling the election again for a 6-month period.
Okay.
They or the parish, because the restriction is on putting a similar proposition before the voters within a 6-month period. That means it would be into November of this year. Should they decide to go again, it would be possible that they would decide to defer until 2024, the spring of 24, and go out at that time. That would be a decision for the Hospital Service District Board to make.
Okay. And then the last question is, I think we're under discussion only, correct?
Right.
What happens if we do not vote on this tonight? Can you clarify if we defer, if we vote on it tonight, it also goes on the April 29th ballot. If we defer it to 2 weeks from now, I'm just asking what happens at that point? Does that
Sure.
take it off the ballot, or can you clarify that?
So currently, this is on the agenda for the State Bond Commission meeting that is scheduled for next Thursday. And just for clarification, for those that haven't been through the process before, the Parish Council's approval is a requirement to get on the State Bond Commission agenda. Without the Parish Council's approval, it gets removed from the State Bond Commission agenda. Because of the timing of the April 29th election, the State Bond Commission is having what they refer to as an ad hoc meeting that is going to be held early in March. So there is a deadline by which you have to complete all the paperwork in order to get onto that agenda. That deadline, as we've been told by the Bond Commission staff, is February 24th, whatever that Friday is, the day following your meeting. February 24th, I think, is the right date.
Yes.
So that would be the deadline to have all paperwork in hand to the State Bond Commission in order to get on the ad hoc meeting. The only caveat I add to that is that, as I mentioned, we are currently on the agenda for the meeting next week. We would have to make the request to Bond Commission to remove it from that agenda and place it on ad hoc. That is in the purview of the Bond Commission. They might agree, they would likely agree. It was very probable they would agree, but there's nothing I can guarantee you at this point that they would agree to. That's
Okay.
best answer.
I just wanted clarification out there
Yeah.
for the public where they know exactly the process on what's going on.
Exactly.
And Mr. Akers, these meetings are only scheduled once a month, too.
I yield.
Mr. Champagne?
Councilman Schultz asked the question I was going to ask, but I will add, though, that the hospital does do fantastic work. I've used it, so I want to make that clear. I do fine work, and we're only doing the due diligence of our constituency by asking you these questions. And again, thank you all for being here. And again, Councilman Schultz asked the question that I had. I yield.
Mr. Newsom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I might have wrote this wrong, but Mr. Adams, I'll actually, so did you speak on that, y'all spend more money than you take in? Did I write that down right, or did I mess that up?
We spend more money than we take in ad valorem tax.
An ad valorem tax?
We also file for grants, and we also run primary care, which is also part of that. If it wasn't for the primary care at the medical center, there would be no primary care in the central and southern part of the parish at all. So we found it needful that we added primary care. Primary care has done a great job of acquiring certain grants and stuff. And in fact, we even, in the last couple of years, became a federally qualified healthcare center, which has given us certain grants from the federal government in order to be able to do primary care. But yes, we do spend
Okay.
more than we
So,
take.
yeah, because I'm just kind of going off of what this paper said, so it's about $5 million roughly in ad valorem tax that we collect, so, good bit. What else? That's it for right now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How you?
Mr. Konovich?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, I'll withdraw my second on the
Discussion?
discussion, and if you want to introduce it for voting,
Yeah, I'll make a motion for the resolution, to approve the resolution.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any more discussion from the table? Mr. Newsom?
Yeah, I'll speak on this. I'd much rather have it at a couple times to look at this a little longer, because, again, I got some calls from constituents through my district, expressing some interest in what was going on. So by voting on this tonight, I really don't have time to go back and call them and talk to them about it and see what their plans, because, again, nobody likes millages and taxes, so if we try to hurry this thing through, which I think is exactly what's happening, we're gonna have a tough time selling this to the public, and that's just the way it is, and that's just the facts of the day. So if we try to hustle this through, which I think is being done right now, we're gonna have problems. So with that, I yield. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Jurich?
Yes, but this is a renewal, right? A renewal of a millage, it's not a new millage, it's something that's continuing on.
Just changing it from us to them.
Yeah, in fact, Ronnie, that's the whole thing, is that we are trying to take that monkey off of your back as council members. That is one of the reasons why it's being changed from a parish to us having the tax and having to do all the work and convincing the public and all.
Mr. Newsom?
So with currently the process now, I guess this is maybe this is a you question, Rennie. We collect the tax, the parish, what do we do? Write them a check or Venmo them or something? What do we do?
I'm not sure the exact process, but yeah, I'm sure the funds are deposited in a specific account, and that account goes to the hospital board. They are the ones authorized by statute to spend those funds. So they have a fiduciary duty under the law. So they determine how those funds are spent, not the parish government. Now, how the finances work, I'll be honest, I don't exactly know, but typically, just like our other funds where we have a solid waste fund, that's put in a separate agency, a separate line item or separate fund. The health department has its own special fund, and on and on and on. So the funds are not commingled in any way with parish government funds.
Thank you. Again, I do understand it is a renewal, but it is dollars coming out of our residents' pockets. We have as a council up here, we have a duty to be stewards of our taxpayers' money, and that's where I'm going with this. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Reverend Evans?
So if we vote yes tonight, we're also voting for the medical center not to be under the parish. They don't have to deal with.
They still underneath us.
Huh?
They still have to come to us for the millage to go forward to the people. If all they doing is, instead of, when the sheriff's office collects the taxes, instead of coming to us, it goes straight to them.
So, Rennie, correct me if I'm wrong, this changes nothing with the way the government is structured, both for us or PMC. All this does is change, like Cognitive said, PPSO collects the tax, they write a check to us, we write a check to PMC. Now, PPSO collects the tax, and they basically, if this passes, it goes straight to PMC. We're being cut out as the middleman, is basically what this is.
Yes, and let me tell you, what I have found out in the last 6 weeks, there's a whole lot of paperwork when Rennie was talking about all of the different funds. And let me tell you, we just don't have one checking account either, okay? There's a lot of checking accounts. So if we can cut this out, this will free up a little bit to a lot of paperwork for the parish government, which really shouldn't be necessary for us to do that, because they have their own staff to where they can administer their own, they can do their collections and from the sheriff's office and take care of business.
And from an accounting standpoint, it's actually better, because if ever let's say we collect $1 million and we only pay $990,000, we can get in trouble for not properly sending all that money to. So from our standpoint, it's actually better for us as a parish to get it out of our name.
And look, this is splitting hairs right here. So the parish is not making a dime off of this right here, but we're spending money administrating this. So it's not a bad thing. Also, this still goes to a vote of the people. The people still have to approve this renewal.
Yes, and if we vote yes tonight, it gives Mr. Akers 2 more weeks ahead that he could go to the bond commission and get it on the ballot, where if he's got to wait, like he said, they might not hear it.
But my concern is, what about other people who need millages? It seemed like to me the move is to get ahead of everybody and get the millage over of the sheriff and other people.
Well, we
who have to come
can't
to the vote.
change the amount of money going to the sheriff's office, the
I'm
school board.
not saying that. I'm just saying the voters should be able to vote all at the same time. It's like you coming out and they say, well, we already voted for the health department, so we ain't got to vote. We don't want to vote no more. That's to me. So I'm just saying that's why I have a problem with it.
I believe the sense of urgency this evening now is that it's not a matter of getting in front of anyone. It's the fact that the bond commission, right? Bond commission, they have this meeting on the 24th or 27th of this month. And if we don't get on that schedule, or we're on that schedule now, and if we have to go up and say, hey, pull us off, it's a whole month away, which it's just prolonging and putting, it's kicking the can down the street. So,
Ms. McCarthy?
I'd like to reiterate what I heard both Mr. Schultz and President Hinckley say, which is that there's an administrative cost. So when we have to have our accountant move the funds from one point to another, we're paying for that person's time to do that. So that's deducting from our revenue to pay for them to do this. And if the money goes directly from the sheriff's department to the medical complex, we eliminate that expense. And I just want to also ask for another clarification. This is of a timely matter, correct? Because we have to get on the bond commission, and if we don't do it at this point, what are the consequences again, please?
Sure. Yes, this approval tonight would be necessary for this to go on the bond commission meeting next week. If it is not approved tonight, then it would have to get approved at a subsequent meeting, the absolute next meeting, and then the bond commission would have to give its approval for us to go on to a separate bond commission meeting in order to be able to hold the election in
And
April.
how long does that take?
We would begin working with them tomorrow morning as soon as they got back to the office.
Second bond commission would take,
If this council were to approve in 2 weeks, then it could still be heard, most likely still be heard, or still go before on the April 29 ballot. Anything longer than 2 weeks, it's not possible, and we'd be into, fall or longer than that.
So we risk not getting this vote, this on the bond committee?
On the April ballot, yes.
see.
That's my target, is the April ballot. There's steps we have to hit in between there, and some of them we can move around, but, today is necessary for us to get bond commission approval next week. 2 weeks from now is the absolute drop dead date.
I see. Thank you.
Any more comments from the table? From the audience?
Yeah, I don't see why you can't keep the status quo. None of them mentioned they had a problem with it. It ain't like they're losing any money.
We are expending more money to keep it
Yeah,
as
but-
status quo.
I understand that point, but at the same time, that was the people elected you for. There are some things that some expense got to go along with government. Some people don't like it that way, and I totally understand that. But some people do, because it make government accountable, make you accountable. Because once this is taken away from you,
It's not being
it's,
taken
it's,
away.
out, it's out of your hands.
It's not,
It's out of your hands. It's out of your hands. You vote the way you want to vote, but at the same time, I just think you should leave it at the status quo, because why it got to be done in April? You don't expire way until the end of next year. You got 2 elections before that. Why it got to be done now? Doesn't make any sense.
Mr. Newsom?
Yeah, comment. We talk about expense, Mr. Hinckley, and I'm sorry, President Hinckley, I'm sorry about that. We're not contracting anybody out to do this. You're using people on your current staff. They're on salary. They're getting paid. We're not expending any, basically we're expending time is what basically, and I guess the whole scenario, time is money, and everybody says that, but, again, this is, and I spoke about this enough, so, I do support the Plaquemines Medical Center. I don't like, most of us 6 new folks up here, we've been, I consider myself drinking from a fire hose, which I've learned a lot, which I leaned on a lot of my colleagues here. That's helped me tremendously. But it just takes time for myself to soak it in, and I just think it's being rushed. And, ultimately, like we said, the people of Plaquemines Parish will have the ultimate say in this. So with that, if it comes up, I will support this. Thank you.
Any more comments from the audience? Mr. President, you do recommend. Machines are open. And the measure passes 9-0.
We got faith in you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Agenda item 9E, this was deferred by request of the Finance Department. 9F, an ordinance to amend the 2023 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget Legal Judgments Department for final judgment settlements of outstanding legal settlement cases and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
So offered.
We have changes.
Yeah.
Okay, on lines 2 and 3, the words "outstanding legal settlement cases" has been removed, and "for qualified judgment creditors" has been added. On line 5 and 6, the following has been added: for those judgment creditors who participated in the 2023 judgment settlement process attached hereto as Exhibit A, then the remainder of that whereas has been removed. A new Section 2 has been added, which reads, "The appropriation contained herein is only authorized to pay judgment creditors who were certified by the parish attorney as having met the requirements of Section 23-3 et sec of Parish Code of Ordinances. Furthermore, the Finance Department is hereby authorized to issue one full payment in lieu of quarterly payments as required by Section 23-3 B2F of the Parish Code of Ordinances," and then Section 2 now becomes Section 3.
I'll second.
I'll offer with changes.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. President Hinckley.
I'm going to allow Mr. Burris to explain this because it's a lot of legal issues here.
Bears?
I believe it's 2 years ago, the council passed an ordinance to deal with outstanding judgments. So these are folks who have sued the parish and were awarded judgments by a court of law. Some of these judgments go way back to 2012. One of the other judgments who participated in a program was 2017. And essentially what the ordinance said was that we were to go out to all those folks who have judgments against us, ask them if they would like to participate in what's in the judgment payment program, and as a condition of doing so, they basically signed paperwork that they will accept half of what was awarded at the judgment. They would waive penalties and interest and accept half of what they were awarded in order to get paid in any given council year. So the legal department reached out to all the judgment creditors. Several wanted to participate in the program, and that's what you have before you. The amount of the persons who participated in a program, the amount of outstanding judgment owed to them is $419,831.50. The judicial interest that accrued during that time was $140,710. And so that's a total of $560,541 liabilities, that is liability that's on the books as monies owed to creditors by Plaquemines Parish government. The ordinance says that if they participate in the program, accept 50%, that provided the funds are available and provided the council appropriates the funds, they would get paid that year, or they would get paid all the funds that were appropriated. So the calculation came out to $209,915. If you all appropriate this and approve this, we will pay the judgment creditors, and we will wipe out $560,541 worth of liabilities on the books, which would be 37.5 cents on the dollar by appropriating the funds for these purposes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes, on line 14, there's a blank. Should we have something in there where the money's coming from?
Yes. I was getting ready to tell y'all that.
You have it?
Do we know
No,
where?
no one ever gave me a fund balance.
Wait, hold on, let me look at my
And while you're looking,
finance.
Please, anybody, please cue in. You finished, Mr. Schultz?
Yeah, until we get, yeah, for now.
I think the only pot available for this is the emergency fund. Unreserved, undesignated only has $110,000 for it. Typically, we wouldn't take out a bond indebtedness, and the infrastructure budget would be inappropriate for this.
So is that what we're going with? Is that y'all recommend emergencies?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Reverend Edwards?
yeah, and so this would wipe out all the debts, or there's just a percentage of the debts?
For these cases, yes, sir. There are other folks who are still owed money who chose not to participate in the program, but for all the folks who did participate in the program, they would sign a release saying that Plaquemines Parish, they accept the money and that Plaquemines Parish government owes them nothing further, and we would be done.
Percentage-wise, how many,
What
would be the percentage of cases would be resolved?
I would say this is probably about a quarter of the monies owed. Last time we did some research on this, I think we had about roughly a little over $2 million of outstanding judgments. So this being an amount of $419,000 tells me that it's about a quarter.
You yield?
Yeah.
Yes. Ms. McCarthy?
Do you know what rate we are paying for the outstanding debt, and about how much is it?
Judicial interest, I think, is 4%.
So how much before and after, if you happen to know, we do the settlement, or are we still occurring
For these?
for the future, for others that are not?
Oh, well, it's 4% on all the monies owed. So if we still owe about $1.5 million,
okay.
you're accruing 4% annually on those that remain unpaid and outstanding. They're waiving interest, and so they will receive no interest, and so therefore, it would be nothing.
I'm all for saving money.
Yield?
Yield.
Dr. Gouy?
Burris, are there any statutes on the books that would mandate that we pay outstanding claims?
No, there is nothing requiring a payment that requires, the ordinance says specifically that if the funds are available and if the Plaquemines Parish Council chooses to appropriate the funds to pay these judgments.
And so, and I'm doing this just for public information, this was a procedure that was adopted by the council to try to alleviate some of these debts that were incurred by court judgments.
Correct. One of the issues that comes up is every year when there's a new administration or a new parish attorney, all of the creditors call, all of the people, we want to get paid. Some of these folks were owed judgments from 2012, and they want to get paid, and there was no process in place. So if you start paying judgments on a whim, or this person happens to be friends with this council member and they put that on the table to get that person paid, you start looking at some equal protection problems. You start making me nervous, probably some judges nervous. And so this was to get a process and a procedure in place that was fair and accessible to all judgment creditors, and not who could simply reach out to a council member and perhaps get paid.
Any more comments from the table? Audience? Machines are open. And the measure passes 9-0.
9G, an ordinance to rename the parish-wide sewer projects fund to the parish surplus fund and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Schultz.
I offer.
We have a motion by Mr. Schultz,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Newsom. Mr. Schultz.
So what this is I think in the 80s, we create this parish-wide sewer projects fund, but talking with the finance director, basically, the money could be used for anything. We could move the money out into the general fund, which we did, I think, at our first meeting. So for transparency reasons, I worked with the finance director, try and come up with a better name where it doesn't look like we're moving sewer money, which isn't really sewer money, into other funds. So this is more of a housekeeping item, just where a better name, transparency reasons.
Any comments from the table? Administration? Audience?
Clarence Brox, 156 Crossover Land, Phoenix, Louisiana. This sewer money, the money we could use for sewage? That what he's saying?
It was called sewer projects, but the money could be used for anything. And the reason why nobody really knows back then why they called it that. I think that when the oil gas revenue was high, they could put money in there if it's over $19 a barrel. But a couple weeks ago, there's no restrictions on the fund. And a couple weeks ago, we moved it out of there and for the general fund. And one of the main questions was, why are we moving money out of the sewer fund? Well, it's not really dedicated to sewer. So this is to make it more transparent, where people don't think that's dedicated money for sewer and we're going to pay for general fund salaries. Is basically what I'm trying to be more transparent.
Understand.
I mean, it can be used for sewer,
Yeah, but that's what I want to know.
But there's no money in there right now because we just moved a couple weeks ago. We moved $500,000 out of it a couple weeks ago, and that was the question: why are we moving $500,000 into the general fund? And so it's more for the future, where it does those questions aren't asked then.
All right, that's why I got confused. But I just want to let y'all know, on the East Bank, half of the East Bank do not have public sewage. We still have using septic tanks.
As well as Engineers Road.
Yeah.
And Jesuit Bend, right?
Oh, yeah? Get out of here. That's news to me. But if we have funds, I want to know, can we use some there to get, go to the East Bank to get on public sewage? But there is no money.
There's no money.
All right, thanks.
Reverend Edwards?
Before Mr. Brox go, he have a check, and I just want, since he was up there, to give to us some money that was left over from the summer camp. And I told him I thought he could just bring to finance, but he was telling me about it. So maybe you could just give it to our president now.
Yeah, I asked to get on the agenda. I guess I must have slipped through a hole. But if y'all don't want the money, I could take it back home.
No, come on.
This if y'all know that the fire department been working with the parish for over 20 years, and we did the swimming pool, we did the
I'm sorry.
Can we vote? Can we finish?
Point of order.
just give them the money.
Yeah.
All right, let's
We have to stay on this item here.
okay. Can I see how much it is?
Go ahead.
All right, it's $22,937.97.
I'll take it.
That's all I want him to do, just give it to the president. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Can we put that in the sewer fund?
And Mr. Brock, we probably
Don't go to Phoenix because they came from Mr. Brock.
will need additional paperwork with that. We're happy to take the check, but
Any more comments from the audience? Machines are open. Mr. Champagne? Mr. Champagne, Mr. Edwards? Okay. And the measures passes unanimously, 9-0.
9H, a resolution appointing the members of the Board of Commissioners, Hospital Service District Number 1, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Schultz.
I offer.
We have a motion by Mr. Schultz, seconded by Reverend Evans. Mr. Schultz.
This is just basic. At the last meeting, we were going to do it under suspension, but since the public did not receive the names, we decided to defer it to this meeting. It's appointing our council appointments to the hospital board.
Any comments from the table? Mr. Newsom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, thank you, Mr. Schultz, for doing this. Again, these some folks that dedicate their time, effort, and energy for the hospital board, and I just want to tell them thank you and appreciate their hard work.
Ms. McCarthy.
I'd also like to thank the people who accept the appointment to the hospital board. I know that they do it under personal peril, in a sense that they can be personally sued for any decisions that they make on that hospital board. And that's not something that is common among other hospital boards. And I want them to know that we appreciate all their hard work and dedication. Thank you. I yield.
Absolutely. Mr. Schultz?
So I found out last night that there was an error posted to the website on the names. So I'm just going to read the names really quick just for the public record, since not everybody was able to see it on the website. District 1 was Ms. Ragas. District 2, Marjanovic. District 3 is Ms. London. District 4, Ms. Belair. District 5, Mr. Adams. District 6, Mr. Gaudet. District 7, Ms. LaFrance. District 8, Ms. Tesevich. And District 9, Ms. Thomas. Like I said, there was an error on the posting website. It is up now, but I just want that in public record. It was a technical difficulty.
And I just want to say my member for the hospital board, she's been on there, been named to that board from 3 different councilmen, Mr. Turner, Ms. Salvone, and also she on a second term with me. Thank you. Do a wonderful job. Mr. Yurich?
Yes, Mr. Schultz, we're going to have to fix something because it's Marinovich, Gode. Sorry, I'm not.
Ragus.
Ragus. That's it. I just want to.
Hey, at least I read it out of the public record where everybody could do.
Touche.
Any comments from the table?
I wasn't expecting to read them out tonight, but I decided to do that.
Set you up.
down the road with the parish president.
What?
Said you better go down the road with the parish president.
Any comments from the administration? Comments from the audience? Machines are open. And the measure passes 8-4, 1 abstention. Next item, please.
Item I, a resolution to appoint the members of the Plaquemines Parish Zoning and Planning Development Board and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Schultz.
Offer.
We have a motion by Mr.
We have fill in the blanks.
Please.
I have a fill in a blank. Line 27, the name Mike D'Amico has been added, and on line 29, Victor Scarsoni. That's it.
Offer with changes.
We have a motion by Mr. Schultz Offer with changes, seconded by Mr. Newsom. Mr. Schultz.
Again, just normal housekeeping, appointing members to the Plaquemines Parish Zoning and Planning Development Board. I'm not going to attempt to name after last time, after Mr. Jurisic called me out.
Dr. Gouy.
Yeah, we really would like you to read the names.
Yeah, I want to hear
I'll
this
make a
one.
motion.
Oh, no, there's names on here.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm good.
I want to hear this one.
Any comments from the administration, audience? Machines are open. Dr. Gouy?
Sorry.
And the measure passes 9-0.
Agenda item 10, approval of the minutes from the January 26, 2023 regular meeting.
Need a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Newsom, seconded by Reverend Edwards. Comments from the table? Machines are open.
Councilmember Edwards, thank you.
And the measure passes unanimously, 9-0.
11, new business. 11A, introduction of resolutions wherein, we did that one, okay. Did we do that? Okay. 11B, district non-update, Councilmember Kotnovich.
Y'all have any update on the Port Sulphur water plant?
The plans are 95% complete. We're being told that the bids, it will be bid out before Mardi Gras.
Thanks. And, on the second one, the baseball quad, I got some calls from parents in Belchase asking if the Plaquemines Recreation could use it because they heard that they can't, and that it's only for travel ball teams.
That's not the case.
All right,
That's never been even a topic of conversation right there.
all right.
So those are rumors.
And I don't know why it had Diamond Park. I might have had a brain cramp that day. But I already talked to Billy about the Burris baseball fields, and thank you. I'm good.
Discussion about sewage in Burris.
I'm good.
You went through it all?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can defer C. Ms. McCarthy, have a question? Mrs. McCarthy.
I'm having trouble communicating with the person from Entergy about the bridge lights, and I was wondering if there's an update that you could share?
Billy, do you want to give the report on the bridge lights, or I can't?
The old bridge or new bridge?
The old bridge, right? Yeah.
So last we were told, the issue with the bridge lights on the old bridge, the south side of the bridge does have lights. When Entergy did some work on the wire lines, they lost that service to the north side of the bridge. There is a little bit of power on the north side of the bridge that controls the gate and the arm and whatnot. We discussed having them look into that and see if they can piggyback power from that to some type of lights, to give lights on the north side. That just happened recently, so we don't have an update on it, but we'll follow up on it.
So we have no idea of when they might try and do that?
Correct. But they're looking into it now. They're looking into the different options they have to put something up there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Schultz?
And when you do the request an update, on the south side, it's only about halfway up that there's lights. On the bottom half in the road, from Area Road to about halfway up, does not have lights. So if you could get an update when you, yeah, thank you.
Will the new bridge have lights?
Yes, it will. It's not designed for. It's not designed for lights, but we're in conversation on getting it. It's designed, but they don't have lights planned for it, so we're in the process of getting that taken care of.
Thank you.
Ms. McCarthy?
I just wanted to add that it's my understanding that one of the residents of Fort St. Leon is an employee of Entergy, and he has turned on several lights because we've had trouble communicating with Entergy to get that done. but he has taken it on his own after he gets home from work to go work on those lights. And I thank him. I wish I could think of his name at the moment.
Yeah, you snitching the man out.
I know. I will report it. I will report it next time. I'm sorry.
I was gonna call the representative from Energy because there's an article in the paper in Jefferson Parish that they complained about something like 56 lights out. Well, Highway 23 from my house to Venice has over 120 lights out.
And we have met with Entergy on all of those lights, so that is in the works also to get all those lights replaced and changed out there.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Conover, seconded by, by everybody. She's open on adjournment. And the measure passes unanimously. We have adjournment at 6:36 PM.